now want to turn it over for an opportunity for Senator Kaine to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to put in the record first, we've talked about this New York Times piece. Mr. Bagley testified to it, July 13, 2015, titled, "A New Look at Apprenticeships as a Path to the Middle Class." And it really focuses upon this apprenticeship program that was founded in 1919 and others, but if we could put that in the record, I would appreciate it. I was struck, Mr. Bagley, in your testimony about the investment that your company makes. The New York Times article said, for somebody to go through the apprenticeship program, start to finish, $270,000 of training. That's what that program costs. And if my staff correctly did the quick math, you indicated about $80 million a year in training in the company, and you said 38,000 employees. I think that's about $2,100 a year of training per employee. So that's a big investment in training, $270,000 to train an apprentice, and then thereafter, for as long as you're there, $2,100 a year to train. Do you think this is pretty common in the industry on the private sector side? I'm sure you'll say you guys are the best at it, but is this a pretty common thing to focus this much resources on training?
Senator Kaine, most humbly, I'm not going to refrain from saying that we're the best, but I will say that I will say all industry are under the pressure for costs, to reduce costs. But for us, it goes without saying, we've had many conversations about how we spend our money. And the apprenticeship program and the amount of money we invest in our students, it comes on the table. But because of the passion that I have in being around or a member of the table or the staff that this conversation takes place, it's one of those conversations where I stand, if it's by myself standing, and say that we have to do this. I believe, and this is what I tell my peers, is that it is a return on the investment. What I spend today, I may not see that return until a couple, 3 or 4 years down the road, but I have to be so committed to that investment, and instead of a product, I'm investing in human capital. So if I do that investment correctly, and I like what Mr. O'Connor say, and bring along this employee as an engaged employee, when this employee comes out of the apprenticeship program at a minimum of 4 years, and this is where the 270,000 came up, when you consider their wages and all of their benefits and the books and things that we purchase, the only thing it costs them is just 2%, just what we call association fees, and that's a small price to pay with the investment that we're making. Some would say, why would you put that much into a person when they could leave you? Because we don't put any restraints, or there is no back end say that you have to give us 5 years of employment after we make this investment in you. But because we believe in the individual and we invest in the intellect and inspiration of the heart of that person, we're willing to take that risk. And as such, I can look back 10 years of apprentices graduating, and we are up in the 80%. And if I would go even deeper, say 15 years back, we still in the high 70%.
Master, at the shipyard, master shipbuilders are those with 40 plus, and there's a lot of master shipbuilders.
Yes, sir.
Who've come out of the school. And well, let's see, you started in 1974, so you're getting pretty close.
I am one.
Yeah. The thing I think it's interesting, the last point you make about the apprenticeship program, apprentices are on the waterfront, 44% of your management is apprentices, but because you don't have a requirement that you stay, a lot of the apprentice graduates are working in the public shipyard over in Norfolk or working in private ship repairs all over the Hampton Roads area. So this training program and the investment that the company is making is really populating the entire shipbuilding industry, which is a benefit to the Navy and to the mission that we're performing.
And so when you think about, I think the earlier comment from Madam Chair, she talked about the cooperation between private and public sector. So even this investment, it's not said a whole lot, but it helps us even in that area, because when we dispatch people to these other, just say a public shipyard, there is some benefit because it comes back. We have a face that we can relate to. We have somebody who understands our business. They can help us with the dialogue, the language, and it's just a win-win.
Last thing I'll ask real quickly is the consistency point. You talked about Newport News has been describing, Senator Wicker and I were visiting early last week about sort of a work valley that's coming up. You know, you're doing new construction, you're doing refuels on the carriers, you kind of schedule them all in and try to have as, minimal amount of downtime. This is, I'm preaching to the choir among everybody here, but sequester and budgetary uncertainty makes that much more challenging. The more certainty that we provide to our public and private shipyards, the more you can then structure the work so that you're not peaking and valleying and hiring people and having to lay them off.
That is so important.
And I know that as you're looking at that valley, the good news is a few years out, you got another mountain that you're going to climb. That's great, but that does impose a challenge on this workforce, and you hope that they don't just completely leave and move to another area or something when we're in this valley period. We will do our best to provide as much certainty as we can.
Thank you, sir.